What is up, guys?
Are we live?
We're live.
Alrighty, welcome. What's going on?
How y'all doing today? Welcome to the Kit Bash live stream. We got a special guest with us, and we got a new kit out today. It's gonna be a good stream.
Very
Uh,
excited about it.
well, before we jump into the special guest, Mike, you want to introduce the new kit since you had quite a hand in making it?
I did have quite a hand in making this one. Yeah, we got every city coming out this month or coming out yesterday night. Hopefully, you guys have had a chance to look at some of the previews and the amazing cover art by our special guest. And yeah, this kit. Do we want to look at it real quick?
Yeah.
I have it pulled up here. Um, I'm super excited about this kit. It's a kit that we've been thinking about and I've been kind of working on for a while now. And I think it's a really great kit for it's kind of like the glue that I see for the whole, for all of our kits, right? Whenever you're making a city, there's all these filler buildings that you always need. And so, especially in my ArcViz work and working in a lot of cities like New York and Chicago and Miami, all of these kind of interstitial buildings are just always kind of a hassle to model, and just you can always use more of them, I find. Um, and so, based on some real buildings, some fictional buildings, we have just like a lot of buildings to fill in a city, like any kind of Western city. We have some small brownstones, some small retail, a bunch of towers, all of the things that you would see on a skyline, essentially, along with some foreground elements. And
I'll say really quick, just to jump in.
please,
Not only is this like super valuable for architecture, but in map painting and film work, so many times, I mean, you're asked to create a nondescript city or constantly creating quote unquote New York or Chicago for tons of different shows and films. And a lot of the times you can't use landmark buildings. You can't use famous monument buildings because there's copyright laws around them.
hmm
So you always have to throw like a little bit of a twist or change them up in some way to be able to actually put them in a film.
yeah,
Uh,
something kind of close, indicative of,
yeah,
but not quite the exact thing.
which is really
Um,
where this kit shines. Is it's almost these buildings that you know and recognize from Chicago and New York, but there's a little bit of a twist so that we can lie in that gray area where it still looks like New York, but doesn't fall into any of those copyright issues.
that is very much the goal. And like one of the things that I find whenever I'm recreating a city, um, because it's easier to do them like photography or something like that, is I need something that looks kind of like it, but that's about as close as it needs to be because it's usually not the focus of the image; it's the context of the image.
Mm.
Um, so this is an attempt to speed up that workflow. Hopefully a lot. They're definitely all models that I wish that I had for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah, I think this is going to be really great, especially for all of you artists out there going for photorealism and working in production or working in architecture, where you want to create a building that looks really, beautiful, but you need to surround it in a location that doesn't distract you from what you're trying to show off.
Yeah, give it a sense of place and context.
Yeah. And Mike actually modeled this whole thing out.
I
This has
did
been
model this.
your project for a while now.
Yes, this has been the silent whisper of my nightmares and dreams.
And with us today, we actually have the famous cover artist,
Yeah, let me
Victor.
stop
Do you want to
sharing.
introduce yourself?
Okay, great.
Victor, tell us a little bit about your background before we show off this cover.
Yeah, okay. Well, so my name is Victor Bonafonte, and I'm a famous cover artist. No, I'm an architect, and I'm the art director in a architectural visualization company that is called Beauty and the Beat, and we are based in sunny Madrid. Not so sunny these days, but yeah, I mean, I've been doing this. I mean, we're like a company that is working with worldwide known studios and stuff. But I still think that what Beauty and the Beat does is like trying to, or what we have in common with this world of concept art and meta painting, which I love so much, is that we try to do things in a different way that normally companies in ArcSpace they do, meaning that we try to implement as much as possible all these matte painting, photo bashing techniques with architecture. Okay, so instead of doing all purely 3D, we jump and go to photo merge with several 2D elements. And yeah, basically, I mean, our company is a little studio. We are like 7 artists total for the moment. So we conceive it like a little boutique for architectural visualization. You can jump in our website. It will be like more updated images, I think. If you can go to beautyandthebit.com. I don't know if it's possible, guys.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we'll put it in the chat.
Max already
Those
dropped it in there.
really old stuff, really cliche stuff. Right now, it's like kind of a different thing. I mean, the studio is like between 6 and 7 years right now, and I mean we have had an evolution, visually speaking, basically. And yeah, I'm the art director there, and I'm co-founder in Beauty and the Beat, and basically.
Awesome. I mean, one of the things
to jump in for
go
to
for
jump
it,
in for
Mike.
just 1 second, because I think Victor's being a little bit modest.
Yeah.
You know, especially for those of you that aren't in the ArcViz world or aren't following the ArcViz world, Beauty and the Bit, I think, is doing some of the most beautiful narrative-based images in the industry. And I think one of the things that I've always been drawn to in their work is not only that they're very well crafted and they have a beautiful sense of light, but there's often the sense of like a hint of narrative and story in them, which you don't typically see in ArcViz. And I think has always made Victor, your and your studio's work really stand out and just really look different from the pack as it was, which is why we're so excited that you worked on one of our covers.
Yeah, one of the things that drew me to Victor's work was, I love the middle ground and crossover we're seeing more and more of architecture and entertainment design coming together, and seeing, not only just showing a building and the design of a building, but creating a really amazing mood and atmosphere around that. It really like fills up your senses and really gives you a feeling of, the actual the temperature of it, the mood of it, the emotion behind it, and it's something that it's easy for architecture a lot of the times to feel sterile, but by bringing all these tools of painters into the mix of this whole thing, it really creates a more powerful image and a more powerful emotion behind each image.
I absolutely agree.
In fact, that it's like I don't know if I can share my screen with you guys.
Certainly.
Okay, just give me 1 second. Give me 1 sec. Here I am. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, the thing is, I'm going to try to go there. Okay, yeah. Here we go. Okay, so it came a point in this is our website. I don't know if it's seen right now.
Mm-hmm.
It should be. I don't know. Okay, so it came a point. I think it was like last year in 2017. Yeah, that we were a little bit tired of doing exclusively all the architectural stuff that or following orders in a certain way, because I mean we try to achieve with our art direction with project managers in the studios, and there are clients that are really receptive towards that, and some other that they are not. So it came a point that we decided to, okay, what if we do what we are going to call the image of the month, which will be something that we would do completely in-house and will be done exclusively for the mere fact of having fun and enjoying it. So we started doing images like this one. which was completely. In this one is curious because this one is like all the people ask us, how much is 3D, how much this one is completely 2D, everything, even the kind of building that is having there
Oh
is
wow.
2D. So, yeah, so we started like doing this kind of images that were like called image of the month, and it was something that we did personally for us. Honestly, it was like kind of for having fun and trying to make things the way we think it should be done in terms of contrast, in terms of values, in terms of narrative, in terms of everything that not all days we can do in our regular practice because of, for example, the program for the architects. It's so specific that they can move even the camera or things like that. So that is how we started to develop images that were more even more conceptual, even more you know concept art related in my opinion,
The
basically.
cool the cool thing is I feel like those like that opportunity to practice like more of the fundamentals of like composition and color and mood.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely,
you can
absolutely.
practice all those on your own, but I have to imagine that a lot of what you learn or kind of discover in that practice starts filtering back into your professional work because you can definitely see the links um, of those types of elements peeking through to more of what you're doing for your clients as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. It's like I think you nurture yourself from a lot of stuff. So obviously, if you're practicing in matte painting and photo bashing or whatever, and practicing these basics that, I mean, they're called basics, but not all the people in architecture visualization know these basics. That's what
Absolutely.
sometimes I'm always, when I do lectures and stuff, I never tire myself of repeating this. Like, there are basics, but not all the people know them, and it should be the first thing that you should know. Things like values, things like composition, things like color, tone, and grading an image and making things appear closer. And I mean, these kind of things that all that's it is supposed that you have to know them, but not all the people know them, and
Mhm.
you know so obviously when you practice more and more of this stuff and this narrative subjects and stuff, obviously you implement more and more into your daytime job, which is, for example, this image
Mhm.
was made with a strong concept that was, okay, what if instead, standing on the typical money shot for the architect, we are standing in a train station, in the train tracks, and we're looking towards the building which is farther away, or things like that. So obviously everything that inspires you is going to perspire in your work, one way or the other.
Yeah, amazing. I want to talk about one of the big personal projects that you just completed, and I don't know how much of our audience has seen it, but no matter what, we're going to play it. Landmark, tell me, Victor, is this your first short film that you've created as a studio?
Yeah, I mean, it was for the same reason as I mentioned, the image of the month. It came later on last year. I was trying to get to other events not related with architecture at all, because I was really interested in getting far from architecture. So I started to get into some other concept art events, such as the one IMEG in Paris, such as the Mundos Digitales in Spain, such as Trojan Horse and stuff like that. So it was great because it was like I was like the strange kid in those events, because I was doing architecture. It was like, oh, this is a freak that is doing architecture, but it was like, yeah, man, but I love what you do. It's really crazy cool, and I would like to, at one point in my life, trying to do something that it gets closer to this point. So we were really highly inspired by this, and I tried to talk with the guys at the studio and tell them, okay, guys, let's do one thing. What if we do a movie on our own? It's a personal project we do in our free time. We don't have many free time, honestly, and but nevertheless, what if we try to go for it and do it in 1 year? And the thing is that I for other reasons, I had to present it in Vienna this year in the D2 conferences, which I love, and so that 1 year time had to be compressed in 6 months time. So we were like really hurried for the thing, But the main ambition with this animation, is our first serious short film. We have made some previous animation for architecture, but really not so important and not so ambitious as this project. But the mere, ambition behind all of this was, okay, let's do something crazy cool that it's like cinematographical language. And what if we try to instill this into this animation and try to inspire architects to let them know that in animations of architecture is not always the same thing. It's not always, these crazy monkeys in 3D moving, these never-ending fly-throughs, and this, absence of narrative, animation. So it was for a double, sense. First, for giving us sense and trying to do something that we think is pretty cool and we are really proud. And on the other side, to try to inspire a new generation of architects and tell them, okay, man, guys, if you're planning to do animation, let's do something cool and not this boring stuff, basically.
Amazing. Well, before we talk more about this, because I really do want to talk a good amount about this, I'm going to play the video right now so that in case anyone hasn't seen it, they get to experience it. So guys, enjoy this, and we'll be right back after this. Hey guys, sorry about that. No audio, and I don't want to ruin this. So let me fix this real quick. Bear with me for the technical troubleshooting. Hey guys, sorry about that. No audio, and I don't want to ruin this. So let me. Yeah, of course. There has to be something off. I'm gonna play it right off of our stream then, since that's not working.
Oh, okay, doke.
Right off of our stream then, since
Fun.
I guess
Voicemail number 30.
since the Señor Burrito
Gosh,
logo
I'm freezing
appears,
my
it should
balls
be
out
sounding
here.
some effects.
It's
something
been
like
9
that.
months since they sent me here as the replacement guy. Or so they said. In fact, it's been 5 years since they dismantled the whole place. Every day is exactly the same. White sky, dark sand, and me in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes I feel like that lost soul in that 70s Kubrick movie about a hotel. Jack whatever. I'm the IT guy in this mega server. Kind of a one-man army, King Midas. I've managed to make this house a home in my own way. I will admit, your letter changed everything. Sure it did. It is said that everybody has some point of inflection in their lives, a moment of clarity in the haze. And now that point is in front of me. Vivid, challenging. By the time you listen to this, I'll no longer be around. I guess I'll be gone, heading my landmark.
Dude, I love that. I love that so much.
Dude, every time I see him, it's like, oh, the color grade in that and the mood and atmosphere. And I am continually blown away by it.
Yeah. James Sten says, I already have chills. That was like right when the video started. Yeah, BNQP says, oh yeah, CRT's making a comeback. Yeah, well, one of the things I love about that film is it's so unique. It has the voice of... you just have a very unique perspective, I think, on filmmaking, coming from architecture, loving concept art in that world, and then being a good storyteller. It's a very interesting mix that creates something that's very different than what I've seen out before.
Yeah, I mean I think that was the main aim. As I said, it was like, what if we try to make a little short film that talks about architecture, talks about an environment, and also it tells the story of an IT guy that is trapped in there. It's like kind of this kind of Jack Torrance guy, from The Shining, and but not forgetting that in the end it's also speaking about architecture. But I still think that when you talk about architecture from a filmic or from a cinematographic point of view, in the end, the architecture is going to look even better than if you make it from a really sterile way, which is like, okay, I put a camera here and move it here in a really descriptive way, but without any soul at all. So basically, that's what we try to achieve with Landmark.
The other thing, like, there's kind of three characters in the movie,
Yes.
right? There's the building, there's the environment, and then there's the narrator, main character. And one of the things that I really love is that the main character, obviously, you have the voiceover that starts to hint at the story and everything that's going on, but you also have all of the amazing set details of how he's lived in this space, and you get such an amazing an idea of who he is based off of how he has kind of left his bits of living all throughout. And I feel like even though you never see him and you don't really know quite what he's done now, you have a very good sense of who he was between the easel and his, how he's left his desk and everything. You know who he is, even though you haven't seen it yet. And it reminds me of this study that they did a while back where they had college students go into strangers' dorm rooms and then write out a character profile for the person that lives in there. And they found it to be more accurate than those same people's friends writing character descriptions of them.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Just I think Malcolm Gladwell talks about it in Blink. I think it's where I know it from. But yeah, that sense of place and the amount that you can communicate about a person by architecture and lived in details really, really comes through in this film. And I think it's just stunning how much you convey in the way that you convey it.
And I think that's one of the important things that I really wanted to I really want to share with the Kit Bash artists, because it was so inspiring to me when I saw this, is how an environment reflects the character around it. And when you're designing a world, how that really is a reflection of the emotion of the characters inside of that world. And having that in mind and keeping that in mind just means that you're going to have so much more power and depth in your images and in the worlds that you create.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, as Mike said, it was really challenging the trying to give that personality of the raconteur, of the IT guy, because obviously we were not going to see him. We fancied at that time, okay, will we green screen him, or we will hire an actor or whatever, but in the end we decided not to do it, also because technical difficulties and because of time. So but we thought that it was like more magical in a certain way to try to tailor those interior spaces to let the people try to imagine how this guy could be based on several Easter eggs. We love music and stuff like that, so we populated all the whole video with a lot of Easter eggs, from David Bowie, Tom Petty and Heartbreakers, whatever it is. So lots of stuff in there that can help you imagine how would be that guy in the end, without showing actually him.
Well, that's like old horror movies or like thriller movies like Alien and Predator, like the original ones, where CG. Obviously, there wasn't much CG involved or no CG involved in some of them, and so that you don't see a lot of the actual bad guy. It lives in your imagination. And because it lives in your imagination, it's so much more gripping. Like when you see in your piece, when you see like the tent outside that he's like set up to the kind of a grown man playing, it kind of feels like you get a sense of who he is. That would be really difficult to accomplish in the same way if you actually showed him doing it, because I get to imagine more. I get more of it gets to live inside of my own head.
Yeah, absolutely. You give more, space in your head to think about who could he be in the end, instead of having something really literal in front of your face. Obviously, yeah.
One of the things I'd love to show from here, because I think it's so clearly translated in the cover you created for every city. You really created a very strong narrative with the cover and tried to tell a story when you were approaching this cover. Which I thought was such a unique approach for a kit that is really meant to be a generic filler kit. And yet you still were able to create a narrative here. Can you tell us about the cover that you created and what your inspiration for it was and what your thought process was?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have something here. Just give me 1 second.
Sure, I'll let you pull it up on your end.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, this I don't know if it's seeing my Photoshop right now on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So I mean, basically, this was the shitty drawing was my first attempt to get something. Honestly, it was kind of a strange moment when I did this cover art, because I was in the middle of some trips towards some lectures in some places. So I remember clearly having the idea for this one in Sweden. I was invited for making a lecture for Landmark and our architectural visualization job or work. So the thing is, I was thinking, and it came really fast to my mind. It's like, okay, I'm trying to do some kind of New York City or something like that, okay, but I try to bring something different at least, because if I do something really descriptive, which is like the city with a nice view, nice camera, nice lighting, okay, it's going to be great, it's going to be okay, but maybe it's not what I'm looking for. I would try to add some little story. So I just started, to make some. I just started to make some storytelling to add to that. So I started like thinking of, okay, what if we had like kind of a flooded New York City? Okay, so it's not the future, or it could be something like more, you know, something, some dystopian kind of thing. I don't know, but it's like, okay, what if we flood the streets? We flood the streets. So in the end, it's like a little dog or something like that over some boards that are floating. After that, I jumped to, instead of having a dog, something like more like kind of a guy that it's like kind of a survivor, because so I try to fancy. Normally, I start things with this kind of crappy, super crappy line arts in my sketchbook. Okay, so and then I started to think about some actual references, I think, and I started to think. I love cinema, and normally it's the first thing I take references from. So I love Terry Gilliam. I love his unique approach to movie making, and I love his aesthetics. So I remind about several shots in maybe in Brazil, and also in 12 Monkeys, especially in 12 Monkeys. I remember these scenes where this Bruce Willis is in New York, in a kind of fucked up New York. So and I thought that it could be something in common with which I was thinking of. So basically, um, basically that was the main starting point. Okay, to try to do something like you know play something with this, and also also um, with the color tones. Okay, I started with something really monochromatic, something really bluish, some bluish tints, which also led me to another references that I was thinking of, and they were like yeah, I tried to search for some images of New York or flooded New York. I found here and there on the website, on the internet, and also obviously some incredible images from John Sweeney and Ethan Sana, I think, from The Last of Us. I love that video game, and also I love the storytelling and also the concept art these guys did for this video game. And as far as I remember, there's some place that has lots of things in common, which what I was thinking of, which is like kind of a floated city. And last but not least, obviously, it was like Simon Stanley Hack, which I also admire. So I was thinking about this kind of chilly mood in bluish tones for with some little accents here and there. So these were like kind of some starting point, references, and so then I made some you know some I mean maybe I would jump a little bit to the 3ds Max file that I had, okay, to show a little bit the scene on 3ds Max, but I mean, nothing too fancy. I'm not the best modeler in the world. In fact, I don't like too much modeling. But well, as you can see, it's like kind of a camera projection, because the buildings are growing a lot towards the end. But for obviously for composition reasons, okay. But basically, the scene, I didn't have to do too much in 3D, because I mean all the models that Mike crafted are awesome. I didn't have to touch nearly nothing. Yes, maybe to change some little materials because I wanted to change them, but not because they at first place they happen to be really great. And so I added some other, big bad boys in the background to, have the composition. But basically, that was all. I mean, I also played with some other assets that from Kit Bash for, street props and stuff like that. I made some basic playing with some basic water texture with some nuances, and the lighting was really released. It was like an HDRI. There was kind of a dusky HDRI, if I don't remember badly. Yeah, it's like a really, yeah, it was a really basic HDRI, and I reinforced that with some V-Ray sun for some highlights. And this double sun is not that we are on Tatooine, is that uh, for some strange reason, I felt that I needed some more sun in some buildings, in some parts of the image. So I duplicated the sun, moved a little bit up to let the sun come in some parts of the image. So I excluded the rest of the image to be affected by this sun. So I mean, basically, this was the scene. As you can see, it's nothing too fancy. Okay, so going back to Photoshop, this was like the first. This was the first iteration. I mean, I was trying basically to block something out with this kind of bluish mood and really dusky ambience. The idea was to try to do. I don't know what happened with this giant flower pot here, but the idea was to try to make something moody. It's like something really solitaire in the way that it was like kind of a city that was with little people living right now, or some tragedy or something happened to that city. So, but so then I started making some more kind of moody or foggy, trying to paint some things over to try to see which kind of color mood it will have. I was had to painting really sloppy but fast, how I would imagine the character in this picture, with some floating cars and stuff like that, who helped out to trim down the composition towards some focal points, but really shitty. I mean, really not so
Victor,
yeah.
one of the things that I love about like the quick little sketches that you did at the very beginning, just like look like a ballpoint or similar on pen, and then just like the very simple like guy that you just drew in, like even here, is that I think it helps remind people that those basic drawings, they don't need to be pretty or anything else, but they can do so much for getting your ideas out of your head so that you can react again to them, like even if they're super simple.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in fact, for example, in these other really quick sketches was like, okay, I need to start introducing 2D elements in the image, because I love that. I love to play with both worlds. And it's like, okay, what if we start adding this kind of graffitis over the walls to make this look like more real in a certain way, to add detail, add realism in a certain way. And what if we can start dropping some cars into the scene? Maybe, obviously, I would integrate them later on. I'm not worried about that. I would need to have some points of interest in the image, so I'm not concerned about integration. I'm not concerned about these things. These things will come later, but for sure it's important to, even your sketch is really sloppy, at least, for example, to start seeing lights in here that are made from photos. For me, it's a completely different thing, and I don't want to lose my time in lighting this in 3ds Max and stuff, and putting real props and stuff, when a photo gives me even a better result, because I have these little nuances here in the light that achieving that in 3D is going to take me much more time, and time is golden. So I mean, that's basically the thing. And you can see a more evolved version of this, playing with these scrap piles, and some more fog and stuff like that, and some more assets in the buildings and things like that. And after that, when all that was constructed, then you came guys into the game, and yes, told me, okay, Victor, what if we can have this, but at the same time we have this kind of instead of being a overcast day or something like that, or really rainy day or things like that, okay, what if we go through a moody day, but at the same time it's like the first day, sorry, the first hours of the sunrise or the sundown, something like that. So it was like, okay, yeah, I thought about it. It was, yeah, it could be really cool, because we could have both worlds. In the foreground, it could be really dramatic and really, kind of a moody, heavy scene. But we could have a little bit of hope in the background with some
like
lights.
That hint of what our main character is striving for, tour.
Yeah, for example, something like
Yeah.
that, and also for giving these accents in some sides of the buildings that could give a really more varied color palette towards the thing. So yeah, basically, and it is the final image. So basically, as you can see, there's nothing too fancy, nothing, no magical recipe, nothing special. It's like to follow some logical, what I think is logical steps to achieve that, basically. So I also have for you guys, if you want, I can go a little bit more in depth into the Photoshop file.
I think one of the things that's really cool about this is that you don't need to make an image a technical nightmare for yourself to tell a story. Like you can keep the technical side of it simple by getting the foundations right and just how you're using lighting and how you understand composition and how you're telling the story and having movement and all of these things is more of a conceptual thing of figuring things out in your head of how to use these tools to tell a story rather than having to do something very complex in 3D.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the also things that like buildings, if you wanted to put in all of these buildings in 2D, that's a ton of work, right? You have to find the right perspective, and sitting there trying to get all those together would take forever, which you can do very quickly in 3D. But then adding in all of the little details and detritus and that lived in, broken down feel, that becomes very difficult in 3D. I think you separated those two kind of components really, really intelligently.
Yeah, but I think it was a natural thing because obviously you have a really nice kick-ass props to do that. So it's like I don't have to think about this part of the. I mean, in fact, what I most enjoy in this in when I'm doing an image is this process, which is like creating the image. Shaping the image, the lighting, the storytelling. So I'm not so concerned about, okay, this leaking in this part of the building is going to be, I will talk about it later, but for example, as an example, okay, this leaking here is, I have to make it in 3D and map it in 3D. Fuck it. I mean, I don't have the time to do it. So I will paint over it and it will be less painful, and in the end it's going to have the same result for the eye. So it's like I enjoy being less time on the technical part of the image, which also it has to be well done, but honestly in this kind of image, it's like, okay, I have that cover because I have the assets. I can play with them, I can see the result really fast with them, and I can maybe change this one, double this one in height, scale it. So it's really easy. It's an easy way to do the image.
That's
We
awesome.
have a question from our buddy Donda. He says to you, Victor, coming from an ArcViz background, what tips do you have for concept artists who use building and other architecture in their work? What common mistakes do you see concept artists making when using buildings in their work, mainly the artists with not a typical background in architecture or similar?
Yeah, this is an interesting question because I remember talking with this guy that is called Jaime Jasso. He's a concept artist for ILM. I think he left ILM like 2 weeks ago, but I met this guy recently, and really nice, close to him. And the thing is, like, we were discussing about this same topic, and it's like we arrived at the conclusion to, for example, when you're seeing a movie with visual effects and stuff, when you see some visual effects that they look incredible, is the ones that are structurally well driven. For example, you see the last installment of Mad Max, and the visual effects are great, but also the scale of the buildings. I mean, there's something structural that is believable in a certain way. So some of the mistakes that I see sometimes of people that is doing concept art exclusively, and for example, they don't have a background in architecture, sometimes is that they don't think too much about that things has to be sustainable, structurally speaking. So if you give that believability in a certain way, your concept art is going to improve radically for me. Because when I see a concept art and I see the architecture or something that is structural and it's believable, it's like an extra for the image. So I would say that that's one of the first or the most important maybe mistake for me, and most common mistake, because obviously a concept artist, he manages really well um, with composition, with lighting, with color palettes. I see lots of works that are amazing in these regards. But maybe I think that's the most important thing, to try that the things that you implement as architectural elements I mean, they can be constructed in a certain way.
Yeah, that there's some sense of like the weight
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
scale of a building.
One of our buddies, Gurmik, is an amazing concept artist, and he comes from an architecture background. And he was designing these spaceships for Star Citizen. And when I first met him, he was doing a talk at IFCC. And he was talking about how the windshields of the spaceships can't be a 40-foot piece of glass because you couldn't transport that if you were manufacturing the ship. And so his design process is not just structurally how does it make sense, but how would it even be transported to be assembled, and how the materials need to be, you can't have a pylon that's 60 feet long because you'd never be able to even move that to the factory. It was such a level of thought behind every detail of it that really grounds it in the real world of not just does this structurally make sense, but does this in a manufacturing sense make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's like if you see movies from, for example, ILM, and you see all these making ofs about how they do this and this set or whatever, they think about detail a lot, a lot. So, and in the end, you can see that, because I mean, it perspires in a certain way in what you see in the end. So, yeah, absolutely. That's one thing that is really important: is structure, weight, how something is going to be constructed, or it should be constructed, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And that was the whole ILM idea with like Greebles back in the initial Star Wars, right? Was that if you had something that was so amazingly huge and immense as the Death Star, it would have little things everywhere, and those little things don't matter that much, but they would be everywhere. And so they, basically started putting little boxes all over the place on their models, just so that the kind of granularity of it would give a sense of just how big this planet-sized spaceship is.
Yeah, from a sense of a scale. That's the thing. So, and I don't know, but I have like in the document I made some other. I don't know if you want to see it, guys. Some more evolution about it, but basically, I'm not going to be too. I'm not to extend too much into this, but basically, I mean, yeah,
and
this
PSD will be sent out if you're on the Kibash email list. I believe it'll be sent out today or later on this week.
Yeah, so basically, like, this is the basic image, okay? And normally I tend to work a lot in a folder I call extra, which is like this is like the basic render, and I work a lot with maybe occlusions, some lights and shadows to reinforce some sides, some normals, and also really important for this one was the depth, because I had to achieve that depth and fogginess, kind of sense for the buildings. So then, obviously, I added all the details in the glass that were obviously all photographs, all some lamps to make the material darker. This like kind of details, because as I said, the basic render was looking already really well. I put some normals here to make this part not so dark, and it started to this like little slight adjustments, some decals, as I said. As you can see in this part, it's like, because it has a lot of details in 100%. For example, these little these little papers here and there, and he has lots of details in all the document, and all these little fucked up walls and stuff like that. But all of that is like obviously made in 2D afterwards, for the reasons that this is the graffiti pass, and also some water with some reflections, and also some overlay from other actual water because 3D is nice, but there's nothing as real as a photograph, as I say. And then, well, I added some, some fogginess in this part, some props. Yeah, the props is a really fun part for me because I enjoy a lot doing this and integrating into the whole thing. It's really detailed in some points. These props with the guy with some. I think I even put this kind of badge for I think it's the New York Knicks. It's really little, but it is there. And yeah, I mean details in the end, and yeah, some fog in the foreground, some light, some color. And I had to say that if you see the Photoshop document after when it's sent, I'm not a I mean, I think Photoshop is not so complicated. I mean, it's a program that can be really complicated, but the basic things, all the basic things, you can achieve them with four basic tools, which is curves, levels, hue, saturation, and two or three more things, but nothing more than that. So if you take a look at everything is. I love to work with curves. It's like a matter of taste, maybe more than levels. I also do some levels sometimes, but I prefer to work with curves because I'm really used to that. And yeah, then I have some little flares in here, but basically that's the evolution. And yeah, the final image that has like a little correction in terms of some chromatic aberration, maybe some noise, some defocus in some parts of the image, and some final color grading, and yeah, basically that's it. That's all the image.
That's amazing.
I love watching them come. I love watching the process of like just watching you turn on like the groups of layers, and you see like even if it's like a simple adjustment, like throwing a light in and color dodge, like interiors and color dodge or anything like that. But watching them like see how much like like those little extra lights you threw in, like how much they change the image, and it kind of like it changes really rapidly at the beginning, and then it's tweaking, tweaking, tweaking.
Yeah.
But it's so nice to see it come together. I always find it interesting because I feel like it's an insight into how you were thinking whilst you were doing those things.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I have lots of fun when I have the basic idea figured out, and then you see that it starts to take shape. That is a really exciting moment when you start to see that everything comes in place, and it's like, okay, right now it's just maybe a matter of just refining the thing, but the basic mood, the basic stuff in the image is there, and the soul of the image is there. So it's just a matter of refining. As I said, if I have the time and I have I can do that. I can put these little stickers over the over the lamppost, for example. If I don't have the time, it's not so important. It's irrelevant. So, but yeah, that's basically the thing.
I want to open this up to the chat for questions. We have a couple minutes left if any of you have any more questions for Victor. And while that's coming in, I want to know, Victor, what are you looking to do next? What's your next ambitions? Where do you want to go with Beauty and the Bit and with your artistic endeavors?
Yeah, that's a nice question because honestly, I did Landmark for the reasons I mentioned, and also because I would love, or I would like to figure out my company in the future, still doing architecture, but also being able to do other projects that are more, concept art, movie maybe, video games maybe oriented. So maybe try to add some art direction to that fields, to somebody that could need our help or something like that. I mean, not exclusively closing ourselves exclusively to architecture, because architecture is really nice. I love it. I'm an architect myself, but it comes a point that maybe I don't see myself doing exclusively architecture until 50 years or 50 something. I need something more. I need to do something that excites me in terms of artistical direction. So yeah, for sure. In fact, we are starting to do some things in other fields right now since Landmark came up, because we receive a really positive feedback about the movie, and lots of people interested in us, not exclusively coming from the archivist field. So yeah, I mean, and this would be a next step, and also doing a new movie in our site, a new personal project. Because again, and this is an advice, if somebody could take it if they want, that it's really important to have clients. It's really important to do something that pays the rent, obviously, and that you're happy doing it. Because it's not that we are not happy doing architecture. We're really happy. I feel really blessed for the company that I have. But also, you never have to stop doing personal projects, because at that point is when you learn the most. Sometimes you challenge yourself the most, because you have one client that is maybe the most critic client, which is you, or you should be your most critic client. And for sure, we will do certainly personal projects in the near future in Beauty and the Beat.
That's awesome.
One of the points I want to underscore for everybody about Landmark and what you did, because I think it's such an inspiring, wonderful story for all artists in all fields, is that so often on the forums you see, questions that look something along the lines of, how do I work on X, whether that's games or film or whatever it might be. How do I get into working on any of those things? And I think the best advice you can give to someone like that is just do it. There's nothing stopping you from making something in that style or in that genre or that speaks to that audience on your own time. Make it, and then you have an example of work of what you'd like to do in it, and good things will follow from that. And I think it came across really well in your talk in Vienna over the summer about Landmark. And I think that people should really take a page out of that playbook, which is, if you want to be working on a certain type of thing or style of thing or field, make something to prove why you should.
Yeah, you
Absolutely.
need someone's
Absolutely.
permission to create what you want to get, and the work you put out there is the work that's going to be coming your way. And with that, I mean, I feel like this is a pretty good note to end on. But looking at what you've done with Landmark, I'm really excited to see all the work that comes your way, and the more personal projects that you and Beauty and the Bit are about to create.
Yeah, and I have to say one thing, that following with your words, and it's like, it has always happened to me since I started Beauty and the Beat, because I started it from the scratch. I was interested in the visual part of architecture time ago, but I didn't have. In Spain, a crisis came up, and I had no job as an architect. I was working as an architect for 10 years, doing projects and stuff, and and I had to say that when I focused myself 100% in something, which was creating this little company, uh, I made my best to learn from here, from there, never getting tired from learning, and going forward. And I have to say that when you have that passion for doing things, in the end something interesting comes. And this saying that it's like, be careful what you dream for, because it might get for real. In my case, has been like that, but I think it's because of the passion of trying to do things that matter for your life. And if you do that stuff, and you do those personal projects, you have these never ending nights, at home, doing things that you are so excited, you want to show the world. In the end, I don't know, I have that feeling that one way or the other, something interesting is going to come your way.
Dude, I
I
love that.
could not agree more. Follow your passions, keep yourself excited.
Yeah.
Victor, thank you so much for joining us, for doing the beautiful cover. It's so great to get to know you, and I'm so excited to see what you do. And thank you everyone at Kitbash for tuning in. You guys will be getting Victor's PSD, so you can pull through it yourself. And don't forget, every city is out today. And if you pick it up this week, you can get it for half off. Guys, any other closing words before we close out the stream?
Just want to say thank you to Victor. Awesome work, my friend. It's been a pleasure. It's been an
Thank
absolute
you.
pleasure. I can't wait for more things in the future.
The same for me, guys. It's been a really nice ride and really, super easy to work with you. And I feel honored, honestly, to be here today and to have had the opportunity to do the cover art for this thing that for me is really inspiring. And it's like it was like, man, I'm going to be in the same page as these guys that are so fucking amazing. So for me, it has been great. So thank you for everything.
Awesome.
It's well deserved, and we should note Victor is our first ArcViz artist cover, ArcViz based artist, or primarily ArcViz based artist cover, which I, as an ArcViz artist, am very excited about. So well earned, Victor. Very well earned.
Thank you, man.
Everyone at Kitbash, thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week.
Guys, thank you all. Thank you so much, Victor.